Uh, oh, shit. I don't know about this damn thing. It seems like it's coming over one ear. Let me fix this. How about that? Nope, that didn't help any. Yeah, we're stuck on that. Okay. Hmm. Yep, that's just what we're dealing with. It's going to be one of those days. I can see that already. So, yep. So anyway, that's going to disturb me all night. Anyway, uh, I am not feeling all that great. Actually, I feel like complete and utter garbage. So, just a heads up, I may be slipping off to the side and coughing at some point during the show. Blow my nose. I've had a really bad congestive issues the past few days, and it's not going to be any easier during the show, but we're going to struggle through it anyway. Let's get it started. Ooh, baby. Oh, yeah. Your little one's in the house. This is Taco. Y'all say hi to Taco. He's a cutie. He's a cutie. Look at him. Yeah, look at what he's doing here. Come on, buddy. He's a cutie, huh? His name is Taco, y'all. Keep that in mind. What's up, guys? Oh, man. This little dude here, he's something else. So I got a 20-pound tomcat who's raising nine kinds of hell about him. Just pitching a fit and being a general asshole. And so he runs over there and goes full bore attack on this little dude, right? And this little tiny furball stood his ground. He rears up and swats at him. It was quite hilarious. And my wife said later on that this little one was chasing him around the room, and my big old 20-pound tomcat, known as Base Cat, was actually running from him. It was quite hilarious. But yeah, he's a little darling. He's a little darling. Yes, he is. He's a little furball. We'll let him explore a little bit. He's going to get into all sorts of stuff, but he needs interaction. Let's see what's going on here. I know I'm all messed up. That's the wrong one. Let's try this. There we go. Let's see. I'm going to pull the chat thingamajigger up here. T. Corley, what's up from Little Rock, Arkansas? Yeah, I grew up down there in that area, man. I was in the Job Corps there. Y'all, you know about the Job Corps? Down on by Petaway Park and 21st Street Grocery. Over there on the rough side of town. Yeah, I know all about that world over there, bro. That's in North Little Rock, actually. Right off the interstate. Let's see here. Rob Payne says, oh, buddy, Mr. CAE. Hell yeah, man. I'm doing like crap, actually. What are you doing? I don't know where he went. He's in here somewhere. He's in there making squeaking noises. Yeah, like I said during the intro, I feel like complete and utter garbage today. I think. What are you doing? I don't know. Anyway, I give up. He's going to distract me the whole night. Yeah, I'll be prepared for that. I think I got a little bug from somebody, and it added to my congestion in my chest. So, randomly during the show, I may mute my mic and slip off and cough or blow my nose a little bit. Y'all bear with me, okay? I'm here anyway. I've been really, really bad. Really, really, really bad. Like last night, I was up till like 6 o'clock this morning. I finally managed to get my chest just clear enough to where I could pass out and sleep for a little while. And yeah. But anyway, life goes on, right? So T. Corley said, have I heard anything about Slaps doing a Black Friday sale? I have not gotten any news about Slaps doing a Black Friday sale. To be perfectly honest, guys, you got to understand something. Slaps is working within very tight margins to deliver equipment that is very, very high quality at a ridiculously low price. There's not any room for sales. I mean, I'm going to tell you guys about something. Just so you understand how tight the margins are. There are certain places in the United States that when someone buys a subwoofer and they ship it to them, after paying the cost to ship it to the customer, Alan loses money. He actually loses money by selling a subwoofer. That's how tight the margins are. So there's not a lot of room for a sale. Just getting the discount that I give you guys is taking it right down to the wire. It's just there's no room for that. Whenever you build quality into a product, you build a lot of put a lot of good expensive parts into a product to get it to where it can actually do a job effectively. There's a limit to how cheap you can sell it. You just can't go any lower. You know, even in a small company where the costs are fairly low, you're not paying staff, you're not paying a warehouse manager, you're not paying for this big huge property. In those scenarios, you're still dealing with a bottom line. There's still a limit to how far you can go down before you're literally paying people to take a product. So just throwing that out there. And that goes for every manufacturer out there. A lot of the big manufacturers have gotten deals to where they can get their cost cut low in their production, and they can actually make more money, right? That's what they do. They make more money by cutting the cost. When the small guys, they're just going to usually sell it for a higher price and still make some money off the sale. Sometimes they're pushing it right to the wire. Walmart sells in bulk, so they can make a 2 or 3 pennies off each sale and still make trillions of dollars because they sell billions of items. So, and it's different markets and different structures, and that all works differently. Um, let's see here, but no, I haven't heard anything. I've been putting off getting a 4-channel amp, but if they put the 5K on sale, I might get it instead. Get that 4-channel amp, the 5K. Amp I have is full bridge, so maybe running mids and highs off it. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Hang on a second. I think you're confusing me, or I am, or you're confused yourself. I'll find out in a minute. I don't believe there's a 5K. 5K. The biggest multiple channel amp, I think, is well, unless I'm losing my mind, is the 2K. I mean, I'm always willing to, accept that I've lost my mind. That's perfectly normal. There's the 2K is a 500 by 4. Then you got the mini 160.4, which is the one I actually like. I really like that little amp. I'm running both of those in my Tahoe, by the way. But all the rest of them are monoblocks. 5K is a monoblock. Forgive me. I warned you guys. Give me a second. I got Taco back. He's running around, rubbing on my leg and attacking my foot. So yeah. 5K on sale. Let's see. So hopefully I answered your question. Rob Payne said, same here. All the cold crap going on here too. A few shots of Southern Comfort and I'm feeling a little better. Yeah, I could hit the tequila bottle over there. Let's see here. Adrian, what's up, man? Oh, Bayside fan. If it's too loud, you're too old. Hell yeah, brother. I've been working on stuff here tonight. What are you bitching about? Life is easy for you. I know. Okay. T. Corley. It's one of those days. T. Corley said for real, when I get sick, I sweat it out by working on something unless it's really bad. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't do that, though. You want to go in my shirt? I'll put you in my shirt. There you go. Have fun. So I got the 5K for subs, full bridge for mids. Yes, I have a kitten in my shirt. It's a magic trick. Yeah, I like that. Oh, son, you're something else. Let me stick him outside real quick. I'll put him in outside my room. He's going to be very distracting. Yes, you're something else, man. You hear a little twerk. You can go play with your brothers and sisters. Nuts. Uh, oh. So, oh man. All right. Let me try to focus here. So T. Corley said, I got the 5K I get the 5K for subs or my full bridge for minutes. I got you. That sounds like a reasonable plan. Um, me, I don't know. What are you running for subwoofers? What are you running subwoofer wise? So I can kind of get some estimates on whether or not that is a feasible plan. Oh man, guys, I'm so tired. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best though. Y'all forgive me. I've been talking to some friends of mine tonight on the Facebook Messenger while working on music, just trying to keep myself occupied because everything I dive into is like, go, 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 pause, cough, 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 blow my nose, get all the crap out because fluids just keep building up in my head, man. It's like the last 3 days, that's all I've been dealing with, like constantly. And tomorrow we got a show, and I'm going to be there. It's a Base for Toys, so I'm definitely going to be there. It's a benefit show. I may not feel worth the crap, but I'll be there. Just like I'm here tonight. I definitely should have called in tonight, but it is what it is. We're going to get through it. If you guys have any questions, this is the time you post them because I'm not real. I don't have a real good plan. I've been talking to some friends about subwoofer design, but there's only so much I can talk about from their end. I will say that the topic I brought up was using a electromagnet as a magnet for a subwoofer, right? So instead of having a permanent magnet, have an electromagnet and having it energize in reverse polarity to the coil magnet so that they would fight against each other and you could theoretically get twice as much energy out of the combination. Possibly save a bunch of weight too. I don't know. I mean, it's a crazy idea, but I brought it up to some people who are really smart. And we went back and forth. One of those people is Jacob Fuller. You guys know him. He's the guy that designs all the sundown subwoofers and stuff. So he said there's merit to it, but there'd be problems. And I'm like, yeah, I know there'd be problems, but would it be worth trying to weed out all those problems? Would the gains be worth? So that's what we were talking about. It's going back and forth about that. Thought I'd bring you guys in on that little tidbit. Checked the 7 tour subs out. No. I'll get back to you in a second here. So to get louder, you have to increase cone area or power, or does X-Max have something? All those. Actually, cone area and X-Max are more important than anything. Power is the last number. Power always makes you louder, but how much louder it makes you is based on the other stuff. So it's like power is the icing on the cake. Everything else is the cake. Okay. The cake is made out of a good box, the proper amount of, the proper port tuning if you're using a port, the proper amount of airspace, the proper air spring for that subwoofer, a good seal, stiff enclosure, all that stuff. And then also the subs diameter, the cone area, and the throw. Because all of those things are going to dictate how well you're going to energize the space. So think about it like this. If you have a subwoofer that's playing a tone, right? It's playing a tone. So it's going positive. Well, it's going positive. Well, when it goes positive, if the baffle and the sides of the enclosure and all that cave in, shrink in because the sub is creating a vacuum in the box. If that stuff shrinks in, then that means that it's going to counteract the positive pressure that you're trying to create, there's going to be a negative void created by the panels shrinking in on the enclosure. And also, there's going to be less positive by the panels outside the vehicle on it pressing out. So, the first thing you have to do is eliminate all of the cabin movement, and that's included in the enclosure. Once you eliminate that movement, then you want to increase cone area, so you're moving more air whenever you're creating that wave, and also increase the throw so that you can move a lot of area at a low frequency. You don't need a long throw to play high frequencies. Like if you're playing 60 hertz and 70 hertz, that subwoofer is never going to move more than a quarter of an inch or an inch. It's just going to go real loud. But if you want to play lows and play them loud, you need to be able to move a lot of cone area, a lot of travel to reproduce that frequency. So for playing lows, when I say lows, I'm talking about 25 hertz and lower. For playing lows, X-Max is really important. And for playing lows loud, X-Max and cone area is really important. For playing highs, meaning 50 hertz and 60 hertz and 70 hertz and those frequencies, cone area is not really as big of a deal. And it also doesn't require, like, for example, Sundown Unofficial's Pink Blazer was doing a 70s with 218s, and that was all designed, but it's a pressure vehicle. It's designed for SPL. It's designed to play at like 60 hertz. And that's what it does. It goes, and it's real freaking loud. Doesn't require a shit ton of cone area to do that. Now, if you want to move a lot of wind, that's cone area. All the other people out there, except for the ones that are just trying to peak that meter at the very most expense of having a vehicle that does not play music or even drive. Everybody else wants more cone area and X-Max, but you got to build the box and the walls and everything else, right? Or you're going to be creating pressure, but you're not going to be containing it, which means you may as well not have created it. And you can overcome a bad containment by just creating more and more pressure. But why do that? Why throw more money at all that stuff whenever you can just fix the problem and gain by just fixing the problems? Instead of putting more and more power on the thing, make it more rigid so that you contain the power you have. That's where you get that efficiency. And then whenever you throw more power on it, you gain a lot. If you look at any big SPL build, really big SPL builds, they'll be crazy. They'll have like concrete floors and they'll have like 3-inch thick windows and and here's the thing. Sure, they'll have 50,000, 100,000 watts in there, 10, maybe 200,000 watts. But here's the thing, that same vehicle that can do like a 180 with 100,000 watts, if you can put a 500 watt amp in there, a single 500 watt amp in there on one single sub and still do 60s because it's so freaking efficient. So you got to think about stuff like that. I've got lost here. Let me go back. And this was all in reference to this question, but I'm going to go back to this because I haven't checked out the Seventure subs. I apologize for that. I'm a train wreck right now, guys. Bear with me. Oh boy, I didn't even type that right. Let's try that again. Sometimes you just don't want to. You just don't want to, get out of bed. 7 tour. Oh goodness. Okay. So I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a bunch of these little 10-inch powered underseat kind of things. They they did, yeah. I know what you're talking about. They did send me a. They give me an invite. The company tried. Uh, we're still talking on it, but they're trying to get me to do a review for some of their stuff. I forgot about that. Um, so yeah, as far as those under the seat subwoofers go, I can dive into that a little bit. There's plenty of companies that have been making them for a long time. They're hit and miss. They're going to be able to play wide frequency pretty low, but they're just not going to be able to play anything loud. So if you're running like a stock stereo system on factory power, your head unit, and you have zilch for bass, putting one of those under your seat could net you a little bit of bottom end. It's not going to be anything boomy. It's just going to be, it'll kind of round out those lows and make it sound more full. So don't expect the world from those, but you will notice a difference if you have a pretty thin system. So, T. Corley said it sounds interesting. Uh, Manufacturer says 1.24 cubic feet. I put them in, I don't know. Okay. I put them in 1.1. A tighter enclosure is always going to give you a smaller enclosure is always going to give you a tighter, more responsive subwoofer, but you're also going to be sacrificing extension. If you have to understand Hoffman's iron law, which applies to like everything. And basically, what it boils down to is um, efficiency and size and lows. So you can be efficient and low, but you're going to have a big box. You can be you can have a small box and play low, but you're not going to be efficient. And you could have which one? I don't know. The other one should be self-evident anyway. That's the iron law, and it's like you can find that in any scenario. You can build a car that's fast and cheap, but it won't be you know it won't be reliable. You can build a reliable cheap car, but it won't be fast. You can build a cheap reliable car, but it won't be fast. Right? You can build a reliable fast car, but it won't be cheap. There's always the three like that, the trifecta, and you can usually find it pretty quick if you're thinking about it. Let's see here. Do I think the size difference makes a big difference? Yes. It isn't necessarily good or bad. So it absolutely makes a big difference. Your air spring is going to be tighter, so it's going to be more responsive. It's like tuning the snare drum up. When you tune the snare drum up, it's going to have a higher pitch. It's going to want to resonate at higher notes. So yeah, it's not going to resonate low. And that's kind of the same concept. When you put a lot of spring behind that subwoofer, it's not going to want to play lows as well, but it will be more responsive on the upper notes. I say highs. When I'm talking about highs in relevance to a subwoofer, I'm talking about like 40, 50, 60 hertz. I think of the whole subwoofer plays a whole range of highs, mids, and lows, right? Yeah, I know. We break it down into sections because just because you like bass doesn't mean that you like the same bass I do. I like kind of the middle ground, which is that 25 to 28 hertz range. Some people like that 18, 15, 12. Yeah, not my jam, but I get it. It's like all the different ranges of subwoofer. It's just how it is, man. Oh, T. Corley said, I go, hey, man, it's all good, brother. Glad you could stop by. Rob Payne said, how can the subwoofer that has FS of 41 hertz play better in a lower tune box? Because the FSs and everything. There's a whole lot of different factors there. FS is going to give you its natural frequency that it wants to vibrate at, which means it's going to be hot. That sub's going to be hot at 41 hertz, but that doesn't mean it can't dig down into the 20s. That just means it wants to vibrate at 41 hertz. It's going to tend to be more free vibrating at 41 hertz. So with that, if you want to exploit that FS, you would build a box that was tuned at 41 hertz and put it in a Tahoe and play 40 hertz track on it, and you would get some serious SPL, but it would also it would also have a hump. So you would have a really big hump. It wouldn't be very flat at all. I kind of like having a higher FS because it ends up giving me a more flat curve, and I like my bass loud and low and mean and windy, but I also like a nice flat curve. I like to have a nice wide band if I can play music on it. So yeah, there's more at play than just your FS. That's just a tendency. You know what I'm saying? Justin said, I just bought 2 SmackDown V218s in my code. Hell yeah, dude. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I haven't done that yet. I haven't figured that yet. I have to get with that, figure that out. The ideal port velocity, I don't know. Peak, I don't know. I'd have to get into my couple of friends that can help with modeling software. But the port velocity is not going to be relevant to the subwoofer. It's relevant to the type of port that you're running and what you're trying to get out of it. You can push the port velocity up some towards the red, if you will, if you're trying to build a really windy build, especially if you're running fluted ports. So, like with the rolled edges, you can push that velocity up quite a bit. But if you're wanting a really big SPL build, like no wind, just straight SPL, then you have big giant ports. And they'll be really effective for that. Well, that said, you won't like the sound of that. That's just for bumping the meter. That's it. Big, giant, short ports bump the meter. That's all they do. They sound like hot garbage when you try to do anything else with them. But so it kind of depends on a whole lot of factors, what you're trying to achieve. Typically, a thinner, a smaller port that's within the velocity range, so that it doesn't cause eddies to form and make noise. It's still within that range, but close to the end of it, like as fast as you can get that air moving, but not making noise, is usually where you want to be. You're going to have the best sound from that. And if you want the best port, man, just go to big ass ports. You're going to pay for them, but they're going to get you a port that you can change out and tune and tweak and find different things. It's very cool. Just remember that when you have a big, huge port in your box, inside the box, every time you lengthen the port, you're also reducing the airspace in the box. Every time you shorten the port, you're increasing the airspace in the box. And the funny thing about that is whenever you increase the airspace in the box, that has the effect of giving you a lower tune. It works toward that direction. When you shorten the port, that gives you the effect of having a slightly higher tune. So that's what's weird about it, is as you shorten the port, your tune may not change much because you're changing two perimeters in your box. You're increasing the airspace and you're also shortening the port, or vice versa, which is why the SPL guys run their ports on the outside of the box, so they can just change the port length and not change the box volume. They actually can control that. It's not practical for most people, but that's why they do it. Stu. I ain't feeling good, Stu. Stu said, "What's up?" Heard something about a new LX7 subwoofer. Yeah, I heard something about it too. I did not hit the Kicker show the other day. I wasn't there for that. I was very busy, and it completely slipped my mind. I did manage to make it to Andy's show afterwards, but barely. During the week, often people will call me up. It's like, "Hey man, I got this thing, this and this, and can I come over and we can?" Yeah, sure, man. And then we're out in the friggin' yard for 6 hours working on their stuff, and I'm like, "Oh well, I forgot. I had totally forgot about this and this and this." And it is what it is, man. I'm only one person. I can only be in one place at a time. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes down to whether or not I'm gonna be out there diving in helping somebody, number one, I'm helping somebody, which is what I love to do. Number two, I'm working on car audio equipment and bass. I'm going to be doing that. That's going to take priority over a whole lot of stuff. I will be getting video of it though, and you guys will get to see it later. But that's where I'm at usually. If I'm not where you think I should be, I'm probably neck deep in the car audio build, helping somebody or working on my own stuff. That's just what life does to me. Ported. It's ported. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Clevis. Yeah. There's so many factors, dude. I can try to answer your question, but that's not really what needs to happen. What needs to happen is you have to learn. You got to build a foundation on how these things work together, and I'll try to help you with that. So like I have tons of videos talking about this stuff. Just absorb as much as you can. There's plenty of people out there, plenty of amazing, amazing, smart people out there that can help build a foundation. Once you start getting a foundation of how this all works together in your head, once you can see the bottom part of it start to build, the rest of it will just start falling into place. It'll all make sense. And then when you look at any situation, you'll have a general idea of what direction you need to go just based on that foundation that you've already got built, and you'll get better at it. But I will gladly try to answer. I just can't answer your question right now because I don't have the right information to be totally thorough on that. Stu said FS is a resonance in free air. Exactly. Adding the sub for an enclosure is going to change the frequency of that peak. It'll always be higher than a free air. Yep. It's like the QTS. The QTC will always be higher than a QTS because you've added something to resist movement. So yeah. So technically that FS should go up in a box, which it will. That doesn't mean that you're not going to dig lows hard, Interesting. Let's see what this question is. I think maybe Georgia boy, GJ, Georgia boy. Would you go to 215s or 212s? I have a Smart 3 Nissan Sentra daily driver. It depends on how much airspace you have available to you to build an enclosure. If you have enough airspace to give those 215s proper airspace, and I do mean proper, like you're running the 3K, so you're not putting stupid power on them. So you'd probably be wanting to go to like the larger size of the box that they're available for. Like if the sub says it'll play at anything from a 3.0 to a 4.5 cubic foot box, you'd probably want to lean towards the higher size, like around 4. So you need to have 8 cubic feet inside that vehicle, inside the box. I mean, since you can usually take about 20% more, if you're real frugal, you're still going to lose about 2 cubic feet in the box itself. So you'll need about 10 cubic feet in that scenario to run those 215s. Yeah, it's going to be down to a really big enclosure. So if you're going to be suffering on airspace, then by all means, you're better off to run a single 15 or 212s. You don't want to put 215s in a choked box. You're not going to get the output that you're looking for. You're going to be wasting your time, your money, and you're not going to get what you're after. So if you can't give it the right airspace, run less subs with the proper airspace, and you're going to actually gain more out of that. Hopefully that answered that question for you. So it has an AGM battery up front and a Northstar AGM battery for the rear. No FC wire already. So like you got a pretty good setup, but you're running 2 AGMs, so you've got about 60 to 100 amps of active power that you can take out and put back in. And if you're running a 3,000 watt amp and you're cutting that in half, so you'd be figuring you ain't gonna be making 3,000 watts, so you'd be figuring cutting that in half to around 1,500. So you'd need about 150 amps to play music on that at high volume on a consistent basis, and you've got a throughput of about 100 amps. So you could do with another AGM battery by your amplifier. Or you could just get a trunk thunder lithium 5K and literally replace that and another battery. It's just, or you could do a 10K and take all the batteries out of your vehicle and just run that one. So there's options, but if you want to keep going in the AGM world, you're going to need to add one more AGM to keep up with that 3K, to actually keep up with it reasonably well. But you're on the right track if you're trying to stay full AGM. Letters. Do you think I'll get better lower bass and lower sub if I remove the divider in my box? Probably not. And the reason is because that divider is also a structural piece. It's not just separating the subs. It's being used to reinforce it so that the baffle and the longer panels of your enclosure don't get to vibrating. You're probably going to lose output by removing it. Because you're going to compromise the structure. That's my best advice. Is the answer is I don't think you would. I think you would end up losing because you would compromise the integrity of the enclosure. Ain't no problem, man. Let's see what's going on here. Stu said my wife had a 20 and now a 24 Sentra. It'd be hard to convince her to go larger than 12s in that trunk. You'll end up with more box than trunk. Well, yeah, I'm not even tripping on that, man. I mean, if I can't put it in my vehicle, it don't need to go in there. Bass first. But that said, you still got to have enough airspace to run the driver. If you could put 215s in a little small box and it's going to sound like hot shit. Like, why won't my 15s get loud? Because the box is completely wrong for those. I mean, you're looking at like 3.5, 4 cubic feet a sub. That's a lot of box, man. Whereas on a 12, you're looking at more like 2.2 and like 1.7 to 2.5 cubic feet a sub. Round numbers out of the top of my head. 18s, you're looking at like 5 cubic feet per sub or bigger. It's like between 4.5 to like 6.5 cubic feet per sub. And you have to have that or else your subwoofer will not work properly. It literally just won't work properly. It'll make noise, but it won't work properly. No problem, brother. Let's see. Sealed. Oh, yeah. It's my sealed. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I said, you take that divider out of there, and right now it's making those panels rigid. As soon as you take it out, the panels can move. If you're wanting to do that, the best thing to do is to design a new box, build it, get your hands dirty. And I'm going to tell you, man, you can do some stupid shit with a sealed enclosure. People really dump on sealed enclosures all the time, man. They're like, oh man, it's like you see a sealed box and you go, oh, it's sealed on. You're like, okay, consider this. A fourth order, one of the windier damn builds out there, has a sealed section. and you're primarily playing in that sealed section. That whole chamber in the front, it's containing things, but a sealed enclosure can get stupid loud. A port adds efficiency, but with our modern equipment, we don't need efficiency as much. We've got power is cheap these days. You can get real loud with a sealed, and you don't have an unloading point. Like for most of your ported enclosures, once you get down below a certain frequency, your sub starts to unload. It can't play any lower. A sealed enclosure doesn't have that problem. You can play down to 1 hertz. It's still going to be loaded as long as the box isn't too big. It's like Bobby made it in the house. Over the years, I've learned that functional and correct are 2 different words for a reason. Yeah. True. Truth. If you're trying to maintain functionality of a vehicle, as in Stu's example with his wife, and you're not trying to be loud, you just want to play low. A single 8 or a single 10 can give you tremendous amounts of low end power. It's not going to get real loud, but you're also going to have, like 90% of your trunk space left. That's why most of the little enclosures for that kind of a scenario are pretty small. You don't need a lot to create bass. You need a lot to create extremely loud bass. There's a difference. Bobby B is in the house. About time he showed up. Man, we've been going for almost an hour. And he just straight up late tonight. Out there milking the goats, man. Let's see here. Oh no. It's possible. Stu said if we say explode 3 times, will Tubby show up? Dubby will go back home to Kansas. He'll go back home and be like, Annie M. Guys over there on the wall, see it up there? And by Bones' head, that is a Sony Explode. Yeah. That's my corner over there. A big subwoofer. For those of you guys who have never seen this whole setup, it's not typically out. I don't have a lot of videos where it's all out there, but that's what's on that side of the room. And Jason's hanging out back here with me right now. He's chilling out on the slap simp. Actually, he's hanging on the DSP right now. I don't know. Let's try it. You guys want to try it? So I don't think it's going to work, man. I don't have faith in it. Sony Explode. No, I don't see him yet. Maybe it'll be a reaction. Take a little time. Y'all check this out. Something I've been working on.
Yourself what Team Savage Sounds can do for me. You're asking the wrong question. What you need to ask is what can I do for Team? Deep in the night, trying to get a system.
What do y'all think?
Sounding just right. Putting in the hours.
I love the
in the cold and dark, or in the hot sun. Bass tune in at a park.
So much power.
It's all about a picture that's floating in your mind, and other crazy people that feel the same grind. We all get together, work as a team. Team Savage Sounds, yeah, bass on the scene.
Yeah, I'd say that is a possibility. What I'm trying to figure out is how, because I've got a wall to V-pillar. I've basically sacrificed as much space as possible. We're still getting some nasty lows. that said, I do know what you're talking about is for real.
We help each other as much as we can. Not because we have to, just because we can. Drop it, drop it, drop it.
I think it has more to do with the quarter wave theory. I think that's a possibility. You know, if you're creating you're able to generate a quarter of a wave or an eighth or whatever it is of a wave. I think that's where this is coming into play, is having enough room to build that inside the cabin. And then there's the reflected notes as well. You're bouncing it off of this and it's coming back and so forth and so on. And whenever you jump to a really, because here's the thing. Hang on a minute. Yeah. All right. So my thought on that is, I know how much louder my vehicle gets when I open the windows, the doors, and how much it's restricted whenever the windows are both rolled up. So that in itself lends merit to what you're saying. If you, but opening the window does solve the problem. You know, you're creating a port and you're just living inside of a chamber, the last chamber before the last port. You're inside that. It's interesting to think about, though, because I've often thought about why is it so that when you open the doors and open the windows, it changes everything about how your system sounds, everything. And it's because you're living in part of the box, you know, especially when you have something crazy like what I have. So very interesting to think about, but I agree. Oh yeah, it's a good jam, ain't it? That's why I said I like the saxophones, man. The saxophones just blast, and man, that intro to that song's got so much power. And I actually mixed them down. I mixed them down quite a bit, but that's just a standby kind of a you know, this little mix that I've got up here is kind of a temporary mix that I wanted you guys to hear. So I got it done just in time to be able to put it on the show. Rob said he likes it too. I think it's more of an issue when rear firing, trying to energize a small area, especially with something as resonant as a Nissan. Oh God, trunks are horrible. So guys, man, let me throw this out there for any of you guys there's a bunch of you guys that aren't in chat right now. And I'm sure that a lot of you probably are new to this and you're just wanting to see what's going on. When it comes to putting subwoofers in a trunk, there's two ways to do it. And one of them is to use the trunk as a reflective surface and to bounce the sound off the rear of the trunk into the cabin, which lengthens the sound wave that you can contain. The other way is to create a trunk baffle and have it firing straight into the vehicle, but you also have to seal off around the sub. You can't let any of that sound leak backwards or it cancels it all out and it sounds like shit. So if you want to fire it forward, you got to seal it off, which means you basically have to either sacrifice your back or your back seat, or you got to build something inside the trunk that seals it off from the back side of it. You have to create a wall there. If you choose to go the route where you're firing it to the back of the trunk, which is the cheap, easy way that pretty much everybody uses, you're going to be required to severely, seriously, and insanely deaden and reinforce every bit of metal back there, because you're basically turning a ported enclosure into a sixth order So what's happening? When you turn that sub around and fire it to the back, you're firing a ported enclosure. Sub port is firing into the chamber, which has got another port, which is the hole where your back seat would be, or the ski hole, or whatever's happening there. That is a port. So you're making a ported enclosure into a sixth, but you're making it into a very bad sixth. So you have to treat the enclosure, the trunk, like it's an enclosure. It needs to be as strong as the enclosure to work properly. Now, at low power, you can get away with this all day long. It's going to sound fine at low power. When you start putting a lot of power on it, you've got to do crazy things to make that trunk strong. Like stuff like going in there and cutting in wood and lining the whole trunk with like 3/4 inch panels with PL3 or PL8, cutting panels to fit in there, glue the back of them, press them in place, getting them locked into that sheet metal and just causing it, making everything super rigid. The trunk lid, the interior, the sides, all that stuff, the floor of the trunk, the back dash, that back floppy piece of metal that has to be, dealt with. All that stuff has to be hard, like concrete hard. And if you can do that and also make the latches hold the trunk so you're not destroying latches, keep the springs in check so that, the trunk isn't lifting up on the springs and letting it vent. If you can make it rigid like that, you can create a really nasty sixth order in a trunk. But it requires a whole lot of stuff to make it stiff, hard, resilient. You don't want any vibrations. You don't want nothing to rattle, nothing to move. So trunks are twisted. Dubby. You're going to make me laugh, man. If I start laughing, I have to cough more. Shit, man. I need to take a decongestant, but if I do, it makes me feel like shit afterwards. So it's a compromise. Decongestants are rough with me anymore. Tubby, you're crazy, man. Your exploding senses tingle. Yeah, I got a feeling Bobby B tingled your exploding senses. He tends to do that. I'm surprised El Fuego isn't here. Just because you guys are so crazy. Oh, what was he saying? Let me go back in this. A resident is a Nissan truck. That's all of them. Let's see here. Stu. So Rob said, why don't we ever hear of isobaric woofers anymore? Because we don't need them. We don't need isobaric configuration. The isobaric configuration is mainly just to. So all right. So here you go. Let's talk about isobaric because it's relevant to the stuff we've been talking about. An isobaric configuration is where you have two subwoofers wired oppositely of each other on the same baffle. They're basically acting as one subwoofer. You can have a chamber between them, or you can have them both on the same baffle, but they're wired backwards so that when one's going forwards, the other's going backwards. This allows you to have the same amount of motor force have double the motor force on a single cone, which means you can take let's say you have a 12-inch subwoofer that requires 2 cubic feet of airspace to play in. You could put two 12s on that box and reduce it by half. So it's like I said, if you have a single 12 that requires 2 cubic feet, you could shrink that box to half of its normal size, to 1 cubic foot, and put two 12s in isobaric configuration on it and get the same output as if you had 112 in a 2-foot box. Okay. It's going to cost you twice as much power, but you can get the same output in a smaller enclosure. It goes back to Hoffman's iron law. It's less efficient. It's half as efficient, but you can still get the trick done. The reason why we don't have isobaric configurations anymore is because the subwoofers are built at this stage are so powerful that we don't need one. I mean, we're already playing, big old huge subs in relatively small enclosures, and that's because the subwoofers have just become so strong that they overcome it naturally. In fact, the Solabaric, which was really the first subwoofer that was designed to replace isobaric configurations from Stillwater Designs, later becoming Kicker, that Solabaric driver's job was literally to replace two subwoofers in an isobaric configuration. So instead of running two, you could just run one and get the same amount of output on one subwoofer. That was the whole thing behind the Solabaric driver from Stillwater Designs, or Kicker. They basically pioneered that. They really wrote the book on big subwoofers very early in the game, because they're the first ones to really make a subwoofer that had big, huge balls, right? And that would have been the Solabaric. That was the first big balls subwoofer. Everything before that was like a Funky Pup, right? It was all fairly lightweight stuff. 100 watts, 50 watts, 100 watts. Most of the amplifiers were like 100 watts, maybe 200 watts, 75 watts. These are what amplifiers power ran. Subwoofer amplifiers, amplifiers used for subwoofers, were like 100 watts, 150 watts. It was a big game changer whenever the Solabaric came out. That changed everything, because now you had amplifiers, you had subwoofers that could take a lot more power, and they could produce all that deep bass in a much smaller spot, which is a huge win for car audio. That was a major innovation. Like every other big car audio subwoofer out there is basically a child of the Solabaric, for real. Let's see what's going on in the chat window here. I was literally in the garden helping with soil and heard the loudest SPO burp of my life, and it had me all. Oh yeah, man. It was the Sony explode. Oh goodness. Stu said isobaric isn't really necessary these days. Yeah, exactly. It was you could cut your. You got to remember that in the days of the Funky Pup subs, and we're going to use that phrase because it's the easiest one, those little low-powered subs, box was everything. Boxes were huge. I mean, huge. You needed big, ginormous enclosures to run 212s, and so that's why people would use the isobaric, was to increase the motor force so they could shrink those enclosures down and maybe put 412s in that same space. But it would actually be 812s playing as 412s. They just stacked them. So it was all about making the box smaller, essentially. And you can still do that, but what's the point, Yeah. But yeah, it can be done. Yes, it is. If you got some really weak subs and you want to do or if you want to do a very tiny box and you have tiny amount of baffle area, running two of them in isobaric will still give you good results. I mean, there was this one bass cannon kind of thing. I don't remember for sure who made it, but it had two 6x9s inside of it, and they were opposing each other. And it was ported on one end. I want to think it was ported on one end. Maybe it was ported on both ends. I can't remember. But with two 6x9s in there, playing isobaric and this tiny little thing, it made some solid low bass. It was one of those things that you sit there and you go, what? When you hear it, how is that even happening? Yeah. So that was one of the tricks with using those isobaric configurations with smaller drivers. You could really do some crazy stuff. You can incorporate it into a design. So it's still something. It's just not necessary for most situations anymore. Uh, let's see here. Just Breeze said, I can't wait for USAF to drop CAE. Drop CAE. USAFs to drop CAE. Well, hell, I don't. I was trying to work with US Amps and trying hard to work with them, but there was really it was really me that was in the way. And I mean, not dissing on US Amps because their new stuff is very very good. It's extremely good, extremely high quality. Out there. The problem is most of my people are budget minded, and when I say budget, I mean money budget minded. And US Amps is not budget friendly at all, not even a little bit. You got to be ready to drop some serious, serious freaking douche marks if you want to pick up some from US Amp stuff. So if money's not the issue, I mean, hell, dude, US Amps makes some of the best amps on the market, but you're going to pay a lot for them. And I could have worked with them. I had some deals set up. I could have got equipment from them, and a really nasty discount on all the stuff. All of this, it was all in the works, but I couldn't bring myself to pick them up because I didn't feel like it would be good for my community. That's why we never pushed any further on that. I didn't feel good about that because I don't think my community is ready for $6,000 amplifier. Well, so I don't know, or more. They get deep, but yeah, good stuff. Stu said nowadays we have lots of motors. Yep, lots of motor. Um, oh God, that's an interesting question. So W said, "What about a push-pull style system?" So you want a solibaric or an isobaric infinite baffle? That's like uh, most generally. um, Let me figure out how to put this into words. Give me a second. Your Q factor would go down a lot going isobaric. So, in my opinion, unless it's some unusual driver that I'm not really pulling up in my brain right now, you probably would be bottoming the thing out so quickly that it wouldn't be practical for an infinite baffle. I mean, you need a fairly tight, fairly low powered sub to really do infinite baffle. If I was going to do an infinite baffle on the cheap, I would look up a cheap Hyanka 15 or a really cheap Scar 18 or something like that. The cheapest one I could find. And that would typically, like something with like 500, 600 watts of RMS power handling or less, and then put very low power on it, you'll get a lot of resonance on an infinite baffle. But it's not going to work very well in a car. It's not really an infinite baffle. You got to be able to seal off the listening environment from the back of the driver or whatever the shape of the driver is. So actually, you'd be working against yourself by trying to do a isobaric infinite baffle. I mean, I'm sure it's been done, but I don't think it would be a good productive way to use that tech. Yeah. Stu said an infinite baffle is already as efficient as you can get. Uh, per sub only relies on the suspension for compliance. Exactly. Well, it relies on the suspension and a good amplifier. So the suspension is naturally going to restrict its movement and going to give you some compliance, but technically, a good amplifier will move that cone inside that range without a suspension at all. It would just move and just float there. So until there was no note, and then it would fall, basically. So, but it doesn't take much power when you have nothing really restricting you. It doesn't take very much power to generate, a sine wave when you have no restrictions. But you have to be very, very, very careful about how much power you put on it and how low you try to play it, because you can quickly destroy it. That's why I said using a really inexpensive 18 or something like that will be a really good starting point for an IB set up in a house. Just grab a real cheap car audio 18, put it on like 75 watts, 50 watts, 100 watts. You'd be amazed by how much you can get out of that. A periodic closure design, I feel has some room left on it for explanation. Not familiar with it. You would need to provide information. So I can't speak on it. But if Stu's interested, it's going to be cool. Shouldn't accept for even $2,000. They need more caps. Yeah. Well, caps are good, but you can also run higher quality caps or bigger caps. I haven't studied their amplifier topology enough to be able to really get into that. I do know that their bar for entry is really high. So every piece of equipment that they run is it's going to be very, very high. Every component they put in is going to be a very high bar for everything. The cost is evident, but the equipment's good. They can do far above its rated power and give you far more performance than even that. The amp design is everything, and they're pretty impressive, but they're also really expensive. All right, Car Audio Seeker, what's up, man? How much lithium for 3 SCD 5K? So you got 3 5Ks. All right, let me get my head wrapped around everything. A 320 amp alt charging at 14.8. You need a Trunk Thunder Lithium 10K version 2 or version 3. 10K version 3. That would sort you out. If you don't want to go that route, then you would need 6 Big Jeff batteries. That's the equivalent. 6, actually. No, it would be 2, 4. 4 Big Jeff batteries, 4 Big Jeff lithium batteries, or 2 of the X-Max batteries, 2 of those, or 1 Truck Thunder Lithium 10K version 3. That's just how much it would take to do that job properly. Oh, yes. Yes, within one stroke of the piston, you will absolutely know you have overpowered it. When you do an IB setup, the damage isn't burnt voice coils. The damage is crushed voice coils. It's always mechanical damage, and you can do lots of mechanical damage. But yes. You guys made me want to laugh, and I can't laugh. Laughing makes it worse, man. Rob said, years ago, I remember some guys running the seventh order, where subwoofers were facing each other and all the chambers were ported. Probably. because if you're adding a sixth order, if you take a sixth order and run an isobarics configuration in it, I think that would add an order, so it would be considered a seventh order, but you could get to that point in different ways. And usually the orders, they're even numbers, because when you add a chamber, you have to add a port to get to that chamber, and that adds 2 orders. So if it was a seventh order, the only thing I could figure is it would be like a sixth order that had a isobaric configuration. That may be considered an order. Interesting though, and it would be an epic. It would be twice as expensive as a normal one. I don't think you would get twice the output out of it though. But when you're considering, all right, when it comes to the big subwoofers, they need a big box, right? So if you're putting, say you got enough baffle area to put 6 15s in a Tahoe, which there barely is enough. But let's say you want to do 8 15s, and you got enough baffle area to put 8 15s in there. Technically, if you did 8 15s and then you added 8 more 15s and made it 16 15s, you could reduce the box required for the 8 to half the size, so you can get away with less airspace in the bottom chamber. But at the same time, now you're buying 16 15s instead of 8. So yeah, you could get the 8 15s inside of that space that you normally would only be able to run 4 or 6. But you're going to have to double up on subs just to get the effect of that 8. So it's not cost effective. Would it work? Yeah, sure. So aperiodic is basically a seal design with a controlled leak. They make boxes decades ago before they used stuffed or varioport disc. Okay. Lower frequencies leaked easier than higher frequencies. Interesting. I've seen plenty of sealed boxes with nice leaks. I can see where that could possibly do a thing. Because if you're leaking, yeah, it would tend to push, the lower frequencies would tend to push out easier. So yeah, I mean, and then you've also got like half cab guitar amps and quarter cab and three-quarter cab, where you have the open back has got a hole in there. Those are all the thing in there, essentially a leak, but you're trying to create sound in that scenario. And car audio, you're trying to reproduce sound, so there's a difference. But the nuts and bolts are still the same. If you've got a leaky enclosure, it's going to change the tone of the enclosure. Even if it's not a ported enclosure, it's just a leaky enclosure, it's going to change the performance about that. It's going to change the perimeters of that. So yeah, sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. Rockville or Celestial, yeah, just something really, really cheap, a big old 18, and put just a tiny amount of power on it, and I think you could do a pretty interesting infinite baffle. Did y'all hear that? My stomach just said, "Hey!" It's like, "What's up?" I thought it was loud. I wonder if it come over the microphone. Crazy. What's that? Parts Express. I can't remember the name of their brand, but somebody will put it in chat. They have a, I believe it's an 18. I think it's the Dayton Ultramax. Holy crap! Did I pull that out of my head? It's amazing what's stored in there. 18-inch. Either that or there's another one that's named a Kraken. The Kraken. It's Kraken. Look that up. Look that one up. Y'all look that one up. That'd be the That'd be the gym for doing infinite baffle, the Kraken. I had to think about it. Harmony 2 for 175. Hell yeah. 300, 3 or 4 for those. I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Give me just a moment. You guys know how hardcore I am. I'm here anyway. Stu said a periodic can mean a smaller enclosure that will play low. The drawbacks noise from the leak has to be dealt with. Yeah, I can see that. You have to like figure out a way to muffle it or something. That's interesting though. And the leak would be out of phase with the sub. That's the other end of that. So you'd want to have it vented as far away from the sub as possible. Because when you started playing at that frequency and the leak started leaking, it would be having some cancellation effect. Not sure how much, but it would definitely be some. Let's see here. Rolando. All right, what's up, man? I'm building my system, and I plan on getting 2 15s right around 5,000 watt RMS. Okay. Yeah, what kind of amplifier are you running? My question is, how many speakers do I need for good highs and mids? There is no such thing as being overbearing. The more drivers you have, you can lower the power on them and still get the same response. So, you know, the gas pedal isn't just all the way down or all the way off. You can always lower the volume and match it up. You don't have to run them full tilt boogie. So the more options you have, larger cone mids are going to give you more performance with less power, more volume, and more rounded lows. But they also take up a lot of space, and most vehicles don't have a space for 10-inch mids, which I would have said in my Tahoe. But so that's something to consider. There's a whole lot of factors in here. And let's see here. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, if you're running the 5,000 watts, man, you know, I mean, 4 6.5s, and then a couple of good solid tweeters will keep up with that pretty good, depending on a lot of all the factors that I don't know. But yeah, more information would be helpful in answering that question. Honestly, if you need two good strong tweeters, and I would say like 4 6.5s is going to be kind of the minimum to keep up with 5,000 watts on subs. You could do it with less, but you're going to be pushing them. Russell said, yeah, the Dayton Ultimax is a theater subwoofer. It absolutely is a theater subwoofer, and it's not designed for the weather, but I'm talking about potential drivers, not necessarily car audio in this scenario. When you're talking about infinite baffle, there's the bleed over into car audio is there, but it's not big into car audio. So we're talking about infinite baffle anything. And yes, an infinite baffle that subwoofer could absolutely play in a car. But you would need to vent it outside, which means you would also need to really protect it. But I'm just pointing out these are drivers that are built for that kind of an environment, that type of an activity, not necessarily the environment. That's a whole other spectrum, is trying to protect it, because to do an actual infinite baffle in a car, you have to vent the thing outside, which means one side of the cone of that driver is literally exposed to the outside, what's outside the car. Usually it's underneath the car. Usually they use like chicken wire and stuff under there to prevent stuff from flying up into it, but that cone is directly exposed to whatever's underneath the car or in the fender well or wherever you do it. So it's a creative problem, and it involves creative solutions, but it's doable. Oh, Stu said the leak should act like a port in terms of phase. It's only going to work if the leak has a port. It has to be tuned to act like a port. It's got to be able to contain the leak until it flips phase, and then at that point you've created a port. I mean, once you've got a leak phase to flip at the right spot, you've literally created a port. So it's no longer a leaky sealed enclosure; it's now a ported enclosure. Just saying. But I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm just being the devil's advocate and trying to find balance between everything. Defiance. That's a solid amp. I ran one for a while. Had no problems out of it. That'll get shit done. So on the Roland, let me go back and see what you said. Yeah, I thought so. So you're running 215s right around 5,000 watts RMS. Okay. So those subs are rated at 5,000 watts RMS, or you're just putting 5,000 watts RMS each on the subs? I'm guessing that's what's happening. Yeah, if you're doing, yeah. Well, I can tell you, I ran that Atom, that same amp on four nasty 12s and a C-pillar wall, and I was running two 6.5s and one tweeter for each door. That was my front stage, and it kept up just fine. So, but if you're wanting to really get busier than that, you're wanting to really have a pronounced front stage when the subs are hammering, you're going to need to go some bigger drivers. Let me show you what I'm running now, and then you can decide how you want to play the game. Let me go over here and flip. Let me flip. I'm gonna flip the flop, y'all. Flip the flop. Where's that button at? Yeah, I'm probably going to screw this up. You know how I always get this wrong. Here we go. Maybe this will All right, so now you can. Stupid thing. There should be sound now, man. Yeah. Yeah, there's sound now. So, okay. All right. So, yeah. Okay, so I'll look at this again. So, first of all, I'm running this guy. You guys can hear me, right? I know you can hear me now. Pretty sure you can hear me now. Let's see if I can fix this. There we go. Make sure I have sound. Yeah. Every time I change screens like that, I forget to check sometimes. This is what I'm running on the two tweeters. I'm running 2 channels on this guy. And the other 2 channels are, yeah, I'm going to, Stu. The other 2 channels are basically doing nothing right now. So I got 2 channels on this running to the tweeters. And the tweeters, and then of course I have this guy. And this guy, I have 2 channels, the 4 channels here, but I have them bridged. So I'm putting 1 and 2 to one side and 3 or 4 to the other side, or whatever it is. I can't remember. So I'm bridging them to those 10s. Now the 10s are bibbidi bobbidi bop. Okay. The 10s are these guys, and they're 8 ohm speakers, but they'll handle 1,000 watts. 3-inch voice coil. These things are nasty. But I've got 500 watts going to them from that amp because it's 1,000 watts at 4 ohms. So I'm getting like 500 watts to them on the doors, and that's where the primary source of my mids and highs is. The combination is absolutely brutal. I mean, I've got my mids and highs dialed way back whenever I'm doing demos because they would overwhelm your brain very quickly. So yeah, that's what's going on there. That's my suggestion is you go over here, pick this guy up, and they're $100 a piece, which is not bad considering how wicked they are. You could also go with this guy, but I don't. I mean, it's a 12. It's going to be a whole different type of setup. I can't speak on it. I'm sure it's nice, but I can't speak on it. I can speak on these. I've been beating the crap out of these for a while now. So you pick up a set of these guys, or 2, however many you can fit in your door, and you pick up a set of these guys, and they're $23 a piece. They're not expensive, and you'll have a nasty set in that regard. And this little capacitor works quite well for the frequency cutoff. I do have mine cut off at like 4,000 and up, but this will cut it off a little bit lower than that. So I like to run mine at 4,000 and up, these tweeters. But that's a combo that's really, really good, and you just need the power to run them. You could honestly run all of them quite well off of the that 2K4 channel, this guy. I chose to go the route that I did because I already had 2 of the Slaps minis. So I just combined this into a 2 channel and use it for my 10s, and then use one of the minis for my highs. But you could absolutely run this is a 4 channel and run 1 per sub or 1 per speaker. It's a good clean amp. It does a good job. Doesn't give me any issues. Let's see here. People are messaging me, and I know that's.
If you're asking yourself what Team Savage Sounds can do for me.
All right, hang on a minute.
You're asking the wrong question. What you need to ask is, what can I do for this team?
Sorry about the mic problem. Lots of R's and subs. I'm gonna look there and figure out where I was at. $2,000. Yeah.
With your
I'm
friends,
getting
working
$215.
deep in the night, trying to get a system, sounding just right, putting in the hours, in the cold and dark, or in the hot sun, bass tune in at a park. It's all about a picture that's floating in your mind, and other crazy people that feel the same grind. We all get together.
For real, man. I agree with that. It could absolutely be done. Am I still running the Ultra Caps? No. But I am running a set of capacitors now. Nothing wrong with the Ultra Caps, other than the computer doesn't always turn off the way it's supposed to. Sometimes that computer will stay on. Though I found out later that I can actually go in the menu and set it to where it turns off at a different voltage so that it doesn't sit there and stay on until my voltage drops to a certain point. Yeah, there's actually an adjustment for that. So yeah, but I'm not using them anymore. It's a good track. Russell. Ultimate doesn't have a dust cap. That'd be inconvenient. Yeah, those would be big enclosure subs. Rolling. Thinking of getting custom sticker pods. The code, of course. 2/8 in the front doors and 2/8 in the back doors. That worked good. And we do have, yes, we do have the Street Pro 8s. There's an 8 ohm and a 16 ohm version. I would run the 8 ohm version. That way, if you ran 2 in the front, you could 2 in each door. You could get the ohm load down to 4 ohms on them and run them as a. So basically, you could run that 2K, that 2K amplifier with 500 watts out, 4 channels. You could run one of those and run all 4 doors with 2 of the 8s, 2 of the Slaps Pro 8 mid-bass speakers in each door, and that would power those, no problem. And then you could run, you said you run the Pillar 3.5-inch tweeter. Yeah, you could run the little 160.4 to handle the tweeters. You could even run a tweeter in each door if you wanted to, or a tweeter in the front door, and however you want to configure it. That 2K.5 is actually a really strong amplifier, and Depmons does make a 2K.4, but dude, you don't want that amplifier. You just do not want that amplifier. I had 3 of them. All three of them back to back failed within the first. One of them was bad out of the box. Yeah, they're really bad. Those amps have got some serious issues. Don't mess with the Depmons 4-channel that looks like the 9.5K Atom. That one although it looks like the line before that, the line before the Atom line come out, where you had the 8K, and they had that 2K. Don't mess with that 2K.4. You don't want that amplifier. It just keeps giving bad results. I've had terrible results with that. And I've used a lot of Depmons equipment, and a lot of it's awesome. Almost all of it's awesome. That amp is a disaster waiting to happen. But the Slaps 2K.4, solid. I've been beating the brakes off of it, dude. I haven't yet to shut one of them off, and they had every right to shut off because I've been punishing them hard. Sorry, guys. The struggle is real. Yeah, it's a solid combo, man. That would give you lots of air, lots of cone area. I mean, I'm not one for putting speakers in the back, but um, I'm a front stage guy. But ain't nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're into, and you're definitely going to get more volume. Give me a second. It's rough. You'll definitely get more volume when adding the extra cone area, but no biggie. But yeah, that would rock hard back there. So yeah, sounds like a good plan. Russell said about coming to Butler next Saturday for season finals and opener for next season. Butler? I don't know where that is. I hadn't planned on going anywhere, so it would be a new thing, but I don't know where that is. It must be in Arkansas. I don't. It seems like an Arkansas town. All right, cool. I'll look into that, Stu. Oh yeah, yeah. This is where my audio was dead. I should have audio right now. Let me check and make sure. Test. Yeah, I do. All right. At least I figured out how to fix it, right? 3/4 channel, Duff Mott's, machetes. No. No. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Just getting to that comment. Don't do that. Go with the slaps 4Ks, slaps 2Ks, 0.5, 0.4. You'll be very much happy that you made that decision. So I'm thinking, I'm sitting here thinking about my speakers. Thinking my speakers are shot. Yeah. Oh man, it is life, dude. Sorry about the audio there. What's up, Justin? Justin said he's back. Tell him we can't hear him. Y'all are all crackheads, man. That's so wrong. That's so wrong, dude. That is so wrong to have to go through that 3 times because you're playing a joke on me. See how mean you guys are. And that's Dubby. Dubby's trying to be mean. For that, I'm going to go over there and punch the Sony Explode subwoofer. I'm going to stab it, and you're going to feel it right in your soul. Like a friggin', what do you call them? Voodoo dolls, man. Oh, click all the buttons. Hell yeah, man. Give them a click. Russell said, I've got, okay, it's a long one. I got 2 6.5 Duff Mott's Arnolds, good. 2 8-inch Duff Mott's Arnold mid bass, good. 2 1-inch DS18 Bullet Super Tweeters, okay. On a Slaps Audio, 2K.4 4-channel and a 160.4 channel amplifier with an 8-channel DSP. The clarity is wow. Absolutely. Sounds solid. Nothing wrong with the Duff Mott's Arnolds, man. I like them. The Sylvesters, the Arnolds, both great. Even the machete, the less expensive machete mids and highs, I've used them quite a bit. The only problem I had with the Duff Mott's Arnold's machetes, machete drivers, and the Sylvesters and all those, I had a problem with keeping them alive. I was blowing them more often than I should have been. I was blowing them up, and it was probably me. But that said, I took out a set of recoils, a set of $20 a piece recoils, and I replaced them with the machete drivers. They sounded just as good, if not better. But within a day, I'd blown one. So I put the recoil back in there in its spot, just that one. And then about a week later, I blew the other one. And so I put the recoil back in its spot, and they kept playing forever. So the recoils were literally taking the same power and the same settings and the same everything, but not blowing. And I'm like, well, what the hell? I mean, I wanted to upgrade, but my upgrade was not an upgrade. It was a downgrade. I mean, it's just I can't explain why a $20 speaker uh, sounds just as good and handles power better than something significantly more expensive, but it does. So there's that. I mean, it's just reality. It's not my preference. I was trying to like go with the high end thing and have the high end stuff, but it didn't live up to the name. So I've still got a set of them. I had bought four. Okay, I had four in the doors, and two of them blew. And I ended up pulling the other two out. The two that I pulled out, I've still got them. They're in a box up there. And the Arnolds are better, but they're so much more expensive. And they just don't. I've heard them all, dude, and I'm not impressed with the amount of sound you gain for the amount of money that you invest. It just doesn't. It just doesn't add up. But the slaps, I like all of their mids and highs. Their mids and highs have balls, and they handle power extremely well. So yeah, I'm down with the sickness. Let's see here. Russell said, "W for the win." Bobby said, "For bass, I have four 18-inch Smackdowns V1s on tar amps. Cheapio. Cheap. I don't know what the hell that word is. 12K. So you got four Smackdowns on a 12K. That's enough power. I would recommend running four 18-inch Smackdowns on four 5Ks or on two 8Ks. But if you're running them on a single setup, you're running them at 1 ohm. So yeah, you really can't split them up, or your ohm load will be messed up. So you're going to have to stick to a one. So yeah, what you got right now works great. Just be sure you're feeding it enough power. Make sure your power is good. That's your weakness. I don't know how that's about, but you definitely got a good setup going on. Cornut Russell said, see, you guys are just nuts. I'd like to see Butler, Kansas. Okay. Yeah. My broken ass body, dude. I don't do a lot of traveling. Consider it though. Russell, the tar amps 4,000.4. 4 channels, actually awesome. Yeah, I can't speak on it though. Rolando said, "I'm glad I didn't buy the DEFBOT stuff yet. I should go on Snatch." Honestly, yeah, you're gonna get just as much, if not more, out of everything, and you're gonna spend significantly less money. And I mean, I don't know. I like money, and so when I can get what I want without having to spend as much money, I'm all about it. Spending extra money on sound deadener and stuff like that to make everything more efficient. You're just going to be happier if you do. And the beauty of it is, if you do manage to blow up shit, it's not that expensive to replace. It's like, this is what we do, man. We destroy things, and so whenever the things we destroy are less expensive to replace, that's good. But I haven't had a single failure of a driver or an amp from slaps yet, period. Just saying. That's the facts. And you guys seen my demos. You've seen my demo videos. I get out in the parking lot and I go for 8 hours. Just, 5 to 8 hours. I'm just back to back, wide open, clipping constantly, smoking, cooking, freaking slamming windy ass demos all day long. If the shit will hold up under the torture that I put it through, you got no problems, man. I give it the beans. All of them. Red Pill saying, you got folks, Five in the back, wouldn't put anything really. Yeah, the thing is, in the rear doors, you're going to get like in your ears when you hear in the rear doors, you're going to get like 25% of the volume output getting to your ears. So adding speakers to the rear, you're only going to get about 25% increase by doing that. But if you're doing car shows and stuff, and you like to open your doors up and play, you will get quite a bit of volume out of them doing it that way. So I understand why people want to do that. It's just my personal preference is I just usually run full front stage and that's it. Yep. Put that money in the front. Yeah. Sound deadener, man. Sound deadener, everything hard, heavy. I asked Stu to do an install on 18-inch woofer under the front seat of my Civic. He's ignored me so far. Imagine that. We could do one. Just got to cut about a 16-inch hole in the floor, and you're good to go. Who stabbed him? Stabbed the Sony, man. I know he feels that pain when I stabbed that Sony. Go over and poke pins in it. You need a kicker to make it shallow. 18. Yeah, give me a second. This cough's coming on again. Yeah, this never ends, man. All right, so okay, in a passive radiator, almost forgot. Yeah, there you go. You could do a passive radiator in an infinite baffle. It actually works. I know that sounds bizarre, but yeah, it actually works. Try it sometime. Let's see here. I do like me a PR setup. Russell said, I don't run mids and highs on flat response ever. The head unit has equalizer settings. Vivid or dynamic, but never flat. Gotcha. Mid pill. Often. She ate some mid bass after. No car shows, just street beater. Gotcha. Yeah, if you're not trying to do the parking lot, adding the big mids and the back doors are not going to be beneficial. Not really. I mean, you're going to gain about, like I said, you'll hear about 25% of what's going on back there. If you're wanting just volume, you're gaining 25% by adding speakers back there. But if you're wanting soundstage or anything else, which is what I like the sound to be coming in front of me. Doing the front stage is better. You could use the other two channels to drop a front sub somewhere up into the console or somewhere that have it playing like 60 hertz up to 140 or 150 if it'll play that high, and then have that blend in with your doors, and man, you can get some juicy mid bass like that. But you want that to be up front, not in the back. You want to hide that speaker in the front somewhere to get that to pull that stage forward. But I'm going down a deep rabbit hole. If the alternator is glowing yellow, does that mean you still got some time before it's cool? Asking for a friend. If it's only smoking a little bit, you can keep going. You only have to stop when there's actual fire. If it's just smoke, that's not hot enough. Keep cooking it. If you get the Team GP alternator, you're not going to blow that thing up doing demos. They're tough as shit, dude. That's what I'm running as a Team GP. You pay for them. It's like $700 when I bought it. But good Lord, what a tough ass alternator. I've had that thing like so hot that you couldn't even get close to it, much less touch it. Just freaking just baking hot, glowing hot. And it's still pumping out 370 amps. And it just kept on doing it, and it's done it over and over again. So I have a lot of faith in that alternator. It's a good one. Yellow means caution. Yeah. Team Cali slap stealer, Russell said. Alan, yeah. The only West Coast dealer. Hell yeah, man. It's good stuff. The only West Coast slap stealer. Yeah, West Coast is rough. So you already know, Russell. You already know the pain with shipping subwoofers to the West Coast. I'll just leave it at that. But and I'm glad you guys showed up. Hopefully everyone learned something today. I know I learned some stuff. The leaky box is the real thing. But I want to get out of here, guys. I need to get some rest. I still hung out with you guys for 2 hours, so that's because I show the love even when I don't feel like it. But y'all have a good night. Let's get the duck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would work.
I'm here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground.
Just set the crossovers to where it's playing higher stuff this time.
Getting ready,
Play with it. You'll get the idea after you play with it.
Hours charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Wires are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red.
Yeah, we're going to interrupt
the bass line. Gonna go hard till they're dead.
Look at it. Understand it. Feel it. Feel the slaps.